Hello, I'm Kamilla Elliott and I work in the Department of English Literature and Creative Writing. My title is Professor of Literature and Media. And one of the things that interests me and still interests me is how 30 years after I began researching into literature's relationship to other arts and media, there is still phenomenal resistance to integrating it within literary studies. And I asked myself, why is this? We've done literature and history for decades, literature and linguistics for even longer, literature and philosophy, literature and psychology, literature and politics, literature and sociology, literature and cultural studies, literature and anthropology, and many other disciplines have been warmly welcomed in. Most recently, ecology and posthumanism, the life of AI and machines and animals and so on. And I keep hoping that someday this will be resolved and that it will be welcome. But I want to just briefly make a case for why other arts and other media are important, and also why I think they've been shut out. And then what looking at literature through other arts and through other media can bring to the study of literature. So literature is hampered by the way that in Judeo-Christian theology, the word is always greater than the image, which is seen, particularly in Protestant Christianity, a debasement of the divine, that the word is what created the world, that Christ is the world, and even in sort of secular writings, philosophy, the word is considered to be equivalent to intellect, and images are sort of dumbing it down and so on. A lot of people are shown films of literature in high school where they think, oh, we've got to try and get these people reading. What I look at is the way that other arts and media have shaped literature. How have the illustrations shaped prose fiction? How has poetry been constructed in contrast to and aspiration to poetry? How do adaptations, stage adaptations in the 19th century, film and television adaptations in the 20th, and adaptations to video games and digital media in the 21st, how has that shaped literature? And I would argue that these things have shaped it as much as, if not more than, other things that we set in dialogue with literature. So, for example, one of the things that happened at the beginning of the 20th century is that the 19th century novel, with its paradigms and realism and so on, largely migrated into film, while the modern novel sort of went off into abstraction and things that weren't about showing the reality and so on. And there are all kinds of other connections, but the last thing I want to say is, what does this bring to the study of literature? It's kept out a lot because of disciplinary rivalries, the idea that literature is better than other media, that they should have separate spheres. But what it brings is the students that we work with here create projects, do creative work with art and music and film and other kinds of media. And through that, they discover things about literature that don't appear when we're using the sort of traditional linguistic model of linear sentences, thesis, argument, evidence, conclusion, the kind of lawyer in court model. And they have discovered things about the literature that they're working with and remaking and adapting that I've never seen in regular kind of verbal, logical, even deconstructed logical criticism. And it's been a joy and a discovery. There was a guy who once said, writing about music is like dancing about architecture. But we've had students who have danced about literature, who filmed about literature, who've composed music about literature. They've even baked cakes about literature in order to explore some of the things that don't emerge in purely verbal criticism. And that has been a discovery I never expected to find as a teacher, as a professor.